LATAM is a diverse market with various levels of regulation. How do you see the operators adapting their strategies to cater to both the challenges and opportunities that exist across the region, and particularly here in Brazil?
Sure. That's key. That's very important, and I believe in localizing the technology and the preferences and the interface, and it's really important to adapt to each market. So if you're launching a global platform, you have to take into consideration the particularities of each market. And Brazil, even Brazil inside LATAM is a different animal than some of the other countries because of the language barriers and so on and other preferences. So I think it's really not only that, not only just the preferences and the specific stuff to the markets, but the regulations. So it's key to take into consideration what are the KYC requirements, what are the ways that you need to adapt your platform to make it fully compliant and to make it more compatible and more fluid in that specific market. So it's not just launching a global platform and hoping that it will get adopted and get accepted and be compliant, but it's a lot of work to make it very specific to each market and to make it successful in that way.
Yeah, I can imagine, absolutely imagine. Um, so, with Brazil's sports betting market in the process of regulation, it's not the process, but it's ever changing, the regulation. It's being adapted, isn't it? What do you believe would be the biggest hurdles for the operators? And how can they effectively position themselves to be successful in this market?
Sure. So I think new regulations are being sorted out. And also for crypto, if you think about it, in the middle, it was supposed to happen early this year and then it got pushed a little bit. But at some point this year, we're going to have more clarity and the players are going to have to adapt to whatever new certifications, regulations require. And so, in crypto specifically, one important ask that the regulators are making is you need three directors, regulatory directors. You need a compliance, a KYC, and a risk regulatory director hats to comply with the regulations. You need a specific capital, initial capital for the firm. These are some of the key requirements and things that are being discussed. We haven't seen the final form yet, and we'll see probably mid this year for the regulations to be implemented to take effect like in October later this year. So we haven't seen the final form yet. For sports betting, we have seen more clarity in terms of what is required, and I think it's a matter of adaptation. Some of the smaller players might have a harder time trying to catch up, but I think the important thing is that regulations have to be defined and created in a fair and a very transparent way. And I think we're in the process of seeing that happen, which is good and should be positive for these markets going forward.
When do you think those regulations will be set in stone, or is it an ever changing process?
Yeah, great point. I think it's in a way it's ever changing, like the technology is, because we crypto has brought uh, innovations to the markets, to finance in specific, multiple times what we've seen in traditional finance. And with that, there are needs of being compliant and adapting to doing things in a way that is desirable. So we've seen bad actors in the past. We've seen some cases of things of Wild West. I think that's in the past. We're done with that. And so going forward, the role that regulations will play are important. They should be crafted in a way that is helpful to the industry. When they will be set in stone, the initial portion of it, which is the initial framework, that is super important for players to operate and to understand what they can and cannot do and how to do things. I think there will probably be somewhere along from mid to late this year, maybe like October. But then, like you said, well put, it will be ever changing and smaller or bigger adjustments will be constantly. I think it'll be an ongoing thing.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. Um, in terms of business development, what innovations do you think will drive the future of iGaming in that town, and how can operators leverage these trends to stay competitive within the region?
I think one thing that glues everything together, one thing that connects these all of these markets is what we've just discussed in a panel. Actually, it's stablecoins. Stablecoins are such an important driver of growth and a connector of different markets. So if you think about sports betting, at some point they might use stablecoins as a currency, as a trading vehicle to do so. Cross-border payments, different geographies. It's really a global operations. Both iGaming and crypto. I think there is such a strong overlap with finance, with cross-border, with on-ramp, off-ramp of fiat and all that. So I think stablecoins is in the center of all of that action. And if you think about traditional AAA studio games, they at some point, in my view, they will have to adopt some sort of stable coins to be competitive, to be interoperable, both in terms of their own games and also in terms of connecting with different platforms, different companies, different games. And stablecoins could play a pivotal role here in uniting that, in making, creating that bridge, not only for when we talk about stablecoins of dollars, of euros, of fiat, of reais, but also in terms of connecting different platforms, and different firms will create different stablecoins. I mean, it's such a profitable, it's such a good business, huge margins, huge volumes, growing demand. I think stablecoins are at the center of most of that action. It's one important component.
Very interesting, very interesting. And then finally, as Brazil becomes an increasingly prominent player in the iGaming space, how crucial is local market knowledge and partnerships for ensuring long-term success and thus sustainability of business within the region?
Sure. Yeah, partnerships are super important, and I think there are different ways to grow. You can do direct to customer, which is more expensive, and it could take longer, and it's a way of spending a lot of marketing dollars trying to reach a broader audience. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it, and you can do obviously both. In the other end of the spectrum, there are the partnerships, and you can partner with existing players, existing traditional either finance players or existing distribution channels in general that will help bring your product to the retail, to the in a B2B2C sort of a way distribute your product. And I think that's an effective, a practical, a very efficient way to for new players to get into the market and for existing players to grow, is to develop these key partnerships. You could partner with existing bulge bracket large banks. You could partner with IFA offices, or you could develop partnerships with family offices, or any type of distribution to the retail, depending on your product that you're trying to market. I think that's a good way to think about expanding, entering and expanding in the Brazilian market.